First, let me bring in John Coleman. He's in San Diego this morning. Thank you for being here.
It's nice to be on CNN. Hello to all your viewers. I resent you calling me a denier. That is a word meant to put me down. I'm a skeptic about climate change, and I want to make it darn clear Mr. Kenney's not a scientist. I am. He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney. And yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder, though, is when you see...
because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN, but I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
Happy Thursday, everyone. But it's really not that happy. First of all, we have some sad news for this show. Brian Stelter is leaving CNN. I know. Yeah, apparently he wants to spend more time with his food. I kid, the poppin' fresh king. I'm going to miss him. How much? Well, this much. And the press were so quiet. On CNN, you could hear Stelter's stomach growling. I can't control myself. Just like Brian Stelter at Krispy Kreme. Like Brian Stelter trapped in a Frito-Lay warehouse. They eat everything from the inside. Like butter at Brian Stelter's dinner table, it's spreading everywhere. No heartfelt birthday wishes from CNN's chubby, grubby Teletubby. CNN's roly-poly gossip goalie. But anyone who thinks that boobs are more common in women than in men clearly have never seen Brian Stelter jogging. That worked out about as well as Brian Stelter's personal trainer. But hey, let's cut Brian some slack. He's got a lot on his plate right now. What the hell am I going to do now? First, Chris Cuomo, then Jeffrey Toobin, and now Stelter. I'm running out of material. If CNN fires Don Lemon, I might actually have to work for a living. So what's Stelter going to do next? Well, he could come work here. Our on-camera chemistry was undeniable.
Brian, I like to play a little game where I just stay in my apartment and I don't pick up the phone and just see if anybody will come and check on me. Have you ever thought about doing that?
And no one pays the rent. I mean, the landlord came after 7 years to evict him.
That really happened, right? You guys saw that too. I wasn't just dreaming that. Wow. All right.
Joins us with an announcement about new legislation pending. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. So what do you plan to do about this?
Well, I find this absolutely appalling, Tucker. And, you know, the whole reason why I ran for Congress in the first place is because I'm one of the Americans that are sick and tired of our government allowing the abuse of the American people. But when it comes to gender-affirming care, which is really child abuse, this is actually an assault and it's child abuse. And this practice should never happen. It's so disgusting and appalling, and it's an embarrassment to our country. You see, I'm one of those that believes the Republican Party is only worth being a true party, worth deserving of the people's votes if we are willing to stand up and stop horrific things like child abuse and like so-called gender-affirming care, which is really genital mutilation. It's puberty blockers that cause chemical castration, teenage girls actually having their breasts chopped off, teenage boys being castrated. This needs to be illegal, and I'm introducing a bill called Protect Children's Innocence Act, and it would create a law that would cause it to be a Class C felony for any person involved in so-called gender-affirming care. That means genital mutilation surgery, that means hormones, that means puberty blockers, anything involving any youth under the age of 18, because these kids are too young to make these awful decisions that will affect them and will be permanent for the rest of their lives.
You cut the breasts off a little girl, you should go to prison, of course. To perform a medically unnecessary hysterectomy on a little girl, you should be in prison. So, I mean, I assume you're going to get every Republican vote for this.
You know, I should have every single Republican co-sponsor, but unfortunately I don't yet. I only have 5 co-sponsors. I'm talking to all of my colleagues and urging them because, Tucker, let me tell you something. This is a referendum on the Republican Party. When we take back the majority, if the American people elect us, we have a lot of work to do. Not only do we need to impeach Merrick Garland, we need to clean out the corrupt FBI, we need to hold the Democrats accountable and defund all of their climate garbage, 87,000 IRS army. But there's one thing that we have got to do, and we're not even a party worth deserving of the American people's votes if we cannot protect children from this horrific child abuse and create this to be a felony. Because this practice has to end. It's the kind of things nightmares are made of, and these are monsters under kids' beds that are doing these horrific things to them.
Yeah. Well, you can't sexually mutilate children. Sorry. And I
No.
hope you will send us a list of every Republican who's too cowardly to affirm the obvious. Once again, you can't sexually mutilate children, period.
No.
So thank you, Congresswoman, for what you're doing on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker.
Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, I've been trying to make more and more videos as much as I can.
So apparently I've been living
that
under
these people are crazy and they're trying to manipulate you. I have said for years that the LGBTQ, they got an agenda. Their agenda is philia. You know what I'm saying? The philia. You gotta blurt this out so they don't get me. It's called the pedophilia. You know what I'm saying? We know where they're going. This is the direction that they're trying to take us in. But see, this young lady, I believe it's a lady, this young lady is telling the truth and exposing their agenda like I've never seen before. And it is invaluable that people who are, I would consider, on the inside of the movement, or that have been a part of it, or they have association with it, can then disclose to the rest of us what the true agenda is. Don't listen to me. Roll the clip.
a rock for the past few years because there's a thing called a pedophilia pride flag. Now, this flag doesn't come as a surprise to me at all because I halfway expected pedophilia to be legalized many years ago because Democrats would stoop so low to be inclusive to everybody. So this right here is the pedo flag. The technical term of this flag is MAP, which stands for Minor Attracted Persons.
There you go. Hold on. Time out. Minor attractive persons. I know you've heard that floating around. I've heard it floating around. I'm telling you guys, the Democrats are good. The left is good at using language. Planned Parenthood ain't got nothing to do with Planned Parenthood. Democrat Party ain't got nothing to do with democracy. I mean, we can go down a list. The Inflation Reduction Act, they ain't got nothing to do with reducing inflation. Green New Deal, global warming. Now it's called climate change because it's not warming like they thought it was. They use words to trick you out of your position. Attractive persons, minor attractive persons, is another word for the ilia, if you know what I'm saying.
The fact that this flag even exists is disgusting in itself, but once I actually look at this flag and look at the colors, it disgusts me even more. So here's a breakdown of what the colors mean on the flag. The top 2 stripes are blue to represent attraction to young boys. The bottom 2 stripes are pink to represent attraction to young girls. The inner yellow stripes are to represent childhood and general attraction to minors regardless of their gender. And the middle stripe is white to represent innocence and unwillingness to offend. How disgusting. Sickos!
Oh, they should put a red one on there because after you go through all that, you're going to hell. That's what they should have done. They forgot the color red because you're going to hell if you're doing stuff like that. I'm glad that this person stood up. I think it's a girl, but nowadays you don't know. People get to switching up and changing their identity. The eyebrows are kind of different, but I believe this is a girl, and I'm thankful that she decided to come out and expose this. She came out and exposed it. Now, let me just take this back from the beginning of the video. I don't know if she's a part of the LGBTQ community. I'm judging her based on her look. She seemed like she is, or she was, or she has some affiliation with it. I could be 100% wrong, and I will apologize to this lady right now if she ain't got nothing to do with it and she just like to dress like that and she just like to do the tomboy look. That's all I'm saying. However, what a wonderful, brave person, an informed individual that can come out and express these things in the fashion in which she did, because I never knew that there was a flag. Now I know they got a flag. Now I know how shady they really are, and y'all better pay attention, because we told you it's a slippery slope. They're going to fall right into your kid's room. That's where they're going. They're going to fall right into your kid's room. Or they're going to fall right into your kid's daycare or something. They're trying to normalize things that are corrupt, and we know it. It's all about manipulation, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all about deviancy, sodomy. That's what this perversion is. Instead of them being honest and telling the truth, they try to lie and mask it, and now they call it attractive younger persons or something like that.
Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. More Democrats backing what appears to be racial discrimination. A Minnesota school district is giving teachers of color additional job protections under a new contract that would allow them to keep their jobs over white instructors with more seniority. Plus, the latest on the Trump raid and the foot dragging on transparency. Here to discuss all this, our legal legend and the host of the podcast, The Dersh Show. He's also the author of the new book, The Price of Principle: Why Integrity is Worth the Consequences. Professor Alan Dershowitz. I've been waiting to talk to you all week. We've got some good stuff here. Professor, this Minnesota policy would give racial preferences when it comes to layoffs. So a more qualified white teacher would be laid off first in this policy over a black teacher with less experience. Is there a lawsuit in the offing here?
Clearly unconstitutional. The Supreme Court of the United States will decide next term that even Harvard, a private university's policy of giving racial advantages is unconstitutional. Race simply cannot be alone a factor in making governmental decisions. You can look at seniority, you can look at qualifications, meritocracy, you can define meritocracy broadly, but you can't say that an advantage or disadvantage occurs just because of a race.
It just blows my mind that these legislators and these elected officials continue to pass these laws which are clearly unconstitutional. All right, now, the big story of the week. Let's turn to the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid. We may be possibly seeing redacted parts of the affidavit as soon as next week. The magistrate has ordered the Justice Department to present proposed redactions by next Thursday. So, Professor, this has been my question. Why give them a week? If you're this magistrate, you got the whole eyes of the country on you. Why not pull the attorneys all into chambers and say, hey, let's go through this thing line by line. Let's come up with something reasonable here, given the intense public interest. Why go through this dog and pony show?
Well, let me start first. They won't have all the lawyers there. They'll only have the lawyers for the government. Judge Reinhart will not allow Trump's lawyers to be there, because then they would find out the names of informers. So it's going to be an ex-parte meeting just between Reinhart and the lawyers for the government. Right. The Trump's lawyers can protest, can object, but they won't be shown the stuff the government wants to have redacted. They probably could have done it sooner, but I think Reinhart so far has been handling himself very, very well. He basically did what everybody said he would not do. I predicted he would do it in an article in Newsweek magazine the morning that he did it. I predicted he would allow some part of the affidavit with redactions. Here's what's going to happen. Government will come in and cherry pick. They will not redact anything that's unfavorable to Trump. They will redact things that are favorable to Trump. They'll claim national security. Reinhart will agree with some and disagree with others. Then they very well might appeal. And that will delay at least the release of things that are contested. Mm-hmm. But I think by next Thursday, late afternoon, we will see the parts of the affidavit that are not contested by the government. And so we'll see something. We probably won't see everything.
President Trump says that he declassified all of the documents that were at Mar-a-Lago. What can he do, or what can he show to demonstrate that that was the case, that before he left office, he did indeed, if there was a TS, a top secret, or an SCI document, that he did indeed declassify that. Therefore, he said he could take it then. What can he do to kind of clear that up?
Well, it's an evidentiary issue, and his own statement is evidence. He will say that on such and such a day, he classified document X. The government will come back and say no. And if they can't overcome his statement, if his statement is credible, then it will have to be believed. But it will be a question of evidence. I doubt he has any documentation, but we know that President Bush once at least declassified a document in the middle of a meeting, just said, oh, no, that's okay. I'm declassifying that.
Right.
So the president has the authority, but there has to be evidence of some kind.
Right.
Now, people misunderstand evidence. It's not a piece of paper. Donald Trump's statement is evidence.
All right. So the burden of proof, though, is on the government to say that Trump did not, in fact, declassify it, right?
Well, there's no case law on that, but I think if it's a criminal case, then the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump did not declassify the material. So the burden would be on them in a criminal case.
All right. The story keeps on rolling on, for better or worse. Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
We're gonna wait over here. I'm sorry, he's not able to come unless he has his mask on. I welcome him here, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I want him here, but it is our district's policy that students have to wear masks.
As you notice, here she comes, pulling him out of class.
I want him here. He is a lovely child. We're here to support and serve him. Our district's policy has changed. I am here to serve all students on our campus who cannot keep spending time on the same issue.
Thank you.
I'm going to have you removed from campus.
Okay.
If you will, be careful.
All right. Police officer, police officer, remove a 4-year-old from campus.
But the school district has decided on independently because, from what I understand, is the numbers within their school district has increased.
Yeah.
So they're basing that decision. And you know, I can't say like what they're doing is wrong, and I can't say what you're doing is wrong. And honestly, like both sides have valid points.
Yeah.
For me, I just gotta make sure the rest of it, as a campus as a whole, everyone's safe and that kids get their education and that's and you seem like a good dude, you seem good father, and so I just hope like by next week they lift this and then it's all resolved.
2209, 11th Street Southeast.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it? Don't you love it? Wanna take you higher. Thank you. I felt that one.